Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising books, comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, new release, The Joy of Cruising Again, as well as other fun, informative global cruise personalities. It's the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests. If you hear about a cruise that interests you, book it at www.thejoyoфvacation.com or enter to win a free cruise for two. Again, www.thejoyoфvacation.com. We really appreciate your feedback, so leave us a text. Paul can't reply, but he may read your text on the air.
Hello, passionate cruisers. This is Paul, and welcome to this special episode of the Joy of Cruising podcast, where we meet members of the world-renowned London Community Gospel Choir, or LCGC, and discuss their participation in this summer's Caribbean Gospel Choir Workshop Cruise on the stunning new MSC World America. I am delighted to welcome the founder of LCGC, Bazil Meade, a member of LCGC, Jenny Latouche, and Kaylin Cain, who is coordinating the Caribbean Gospel Choir Workshop Cruise. LCGC is one of the most energetic and inspiring forces in the UK's music scene, made up of an eclectic mix of people from diverse backgrounds, embodying their message of God's love, peace, and unity in a refreshing and invigorating style of gospel. With a tight-knit ensemble of talented vocalists, they share joy and feel-good music with all their audiences. They are proud to represent the metropolitan community of London, coming together as a tight-knit ensemble of talented vocalists sharing joy and feel-good music with their audiences. They have worked with over 100 artists around the world in their 40-plus years and were the first community gospel choir in Europe. They have sung live and recorded with various artists around the world, including Elton John, Madonna, Paul McCartney, Stevie Wonder, Luther Vandross, and Mariah Carey. This is their first time performing and holding workshops in the Caribbean on an amazing cruise ship. Let me say something about the Caribbean Gospel Choir Workshop Cruise. For the Love of Music Events Limited, will present this Caribbean cruise, which begins on August the 30th, when you set sail from Miami aboard the new luxury cruise ship MSC World America. The 7-night cruise features full-board dining, including premium drinks package, prepaid gratuities, all taxes and supplements, workshops led by specialist workshop leaders, and then a performance and LCGC concert on board the ship, which includes the Gospel Workshop Choir made up from guests. Welcome all to the Joy of Cruising podcast. How's everybody doing?
We're all good here, Paul. All good. All good. The sun is shining in London. When that happens, people smile.
Yeah.
Good. Well, the sun is shining here in North Carolina as well. It's been a little chilly on certain days in the last couple of weeks, but today I think it's going to be short sleeve weather.
Okay.
Oh.
Before we talk specifically about London Community Gospel Choir and the Caribbean Gospel Choir Workshop Cruise, let me ask each of you to introduce yourselves and share a little bit about your backgrounds. Anything you want to tell the cruise community?
Bazil Meade, also known as Reverend Bazil Meade, founder of London Community Gospel Choir. It's been 41 years. I originally came from the Caribbean island of Montserrat, I arrived in England many, many moons ago. So I've lived most of my life here. Born into the church, the Pentecostal church is here. And so I grew up knowing who God is. And my life has been managed, controlled, influenced by my faith and trust in God. So the music that I am now so passionately promoting and have been for 41 years is as a result of my faith in God. In London Community Gospel Choir is one of those iconic achievements in my life that has inspired me to reach out to human beings on the planet, whatever color or culture you are. We traveled extensively around the planet. And the idea of the cruises came from Kaylin, who you will soon meet. And we just love to do it. It's something that is different for a gospel choir, certainly a UK gospel choir. Understanding it happens quite a lot in America. But we'd like to try this. And hopefully we'll get enough people coming on board to get a flavor of UK gospel, because it's slightly different to our African American, the leaders, the first people to bring this style of music to the world. And we have a large community here, and we have been influenced immensely by our American brothers. So we want to take it out there and let the world see it. And hopefully some Americans will come on board and get the flavors of British gospel music.
Very, very good. Thank you.
Okay, right. I'm Jenny Latouche, and I'm here because of Bazil Meade, and he omitted MBE because he was recognised by the world, recognised for his contribution to music, and not just gospel music, but his contribution to music as far as the United Kingdom and, as you said, the rest of the world. But because of what he has done he's saying 41 years, but outside of LCGC, Bazil is a music icon. And because of that, we've got the likes of the British Council that have sent the choir to Africa, to Asia, parts of the Caribbean, because of who this gentleman is. So he's underplaying himself. So if anybody's going to big him up, it's going to be me. Because and the reason I say that, I attended the very first concert that LCGC had as an introduction to the UK. And after that first concert, the first thing I did was run down the stairs and say, I need to join this choir.
I remember that.
I need to join this choir. Oh, my goodness. And 40 years later, here I am. So I joined the choir as a 20-something-year-old. And now I'm in my... and I'm a exactly. So, and I have to say, it has been an amazing journey, and I'm grateful for the vision that Bazil was given, and because of that, obviously was a vision, because 40 plus years later, we're still here and having the most amazing time. It's a younger choir now. Yeah. As I said, I'm grandma to the choir, grandma to the choir, but it has been an amazing journey and wonderful to still be a part of it in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Let me ask you a question. You or Bazil or both, have you all, has LCGC cruised before? I mean, when I say cruise, performed on a cruise before?
No, individuals have. So individuals within the choir have worked on cruises.
Okay.
But I've just attended and sat down and drank my margarita and, sunbathe.
All right. Okay.
We attempted to do one, but COVID, the destroyer, messed up all the plans.
Sure.
We had a good amount of people that was going to be in Europe. But it just messed up all the plans. So this is the second attempt, and we certainly hope that this one happens and is successful.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so you've got me. I'm Kaylin Cain. I'm the promoter. My company is For the Love of Music Events. So I've got over 20 years in the entertainment industry, working with Virgin, Sega, NBC, Canada TV, ITV, those sort of people. I'm now going my own way. I worked with LCGC as their office manager for 8 years. Absolutely loved it. but now I'm going solo. So this is my first venture with the choir doing something in the Caribbean, but I'm trying to promote unique music events, and this is the biggie at the moment. So we're all looking forward to it.
Kaylin, can you sing?
No. do you know what? I worked as their office manager for 8 years, and they sing like heaven. However, I don't sing. And every time we go on an event, somebody said to me, "Oh, you're a singer." And no, I don't sing. I stay in my...
I was just messing with you. I know you had said you were an office manager, so I was just teasing when I asked, could you sing? Bazil, let me ask you first. Talk about the creation. You did a little bit in your introduction, but talk about the creation of LCGC at the time of creation, your vision for the group.
Well, we need to go back to 1982. In fact, very importantly, I met majority of the people who became LCGC founders on a cruise. It was a cruise between the east of England and Gothenburg. A friend of mine decided he wanted to do something a little different, and he organized this cruise to the gospel, the Christian community, and a majority of the members who came on that cruise were introduced to the idea at the time that myself and 3 other choir leaders had been discussing. And that idea was to amalgamate our choirs and have a mass choir that put on a concert in London somewhere that celebrated gospel, because the interest and the energy for gospel in our churches at the time was just amazing. And every church had a choir. And we were like probably the 3 or 4 best known choirs, and we respected and admired each other. So we discussed it for a while. And on this cruise, we introduced the idea to many people, to all the people on the cruise. And when we got back to London, it's literally over a weekend, I believe it was. Yeah. And when we came back to London, we decided to call a meeting to all those who were interested, and just put the idea some more mileage to it, and we were amazed at the amount of people who were interested in it. And so that's where the initial idea was. It wasn't to have an organization that is here 41 years later.
Curiosity question: was that your first cruise? That cruise where you all brainstormed the idea of having a mass choir?
Certainly was. For me and majority of the people, because they were all young, 18, 19, 20-year-old. It's a youth thing at the time. The energy was amazing.
Now, how about this upcoming cruise? For many of the members, is this their first cruise?
We'll be right back.
The Joy of Cruising podcast guests receive a gift sponsored by GigSky of a 3 gigabyte cruise plus LAN data package valued at $60. Relying on ship Wi-Fi is slow, unsecure, and sometimes not available. And at foreign ports, travelers don't want to pay their carriers high fees. GigSky provides a solution that will save them a significant amount of money. To get your own data package usable on the ship or in ports, here is my link to GigSky. https://gigsky.pxf.io/NLOXOR. This can be found in the show notes below. For a 10% discount, use the code Joy of Cruising.
Yeah, it will be. Most of them, it will be their first cruise. Myself and Jenny, we did our first cruise together, which was about 5 years 6 years ago. That was on the MSC, and that's why we've gone with MSC, because
Where did you go?
We enjoyed it. We went to the Caribbean.
Oh.
Yes, you were invited and you didn't come.
Oh, really?
So we did Mexico and Dominican Republic. Colombia. That was amazing.
Panama.
So this time we're going big. We're bringing the choir over.
Now, Bazil, on that first cruise that you went on, I'm going to guess that was Cunard?
Was it? It's. I think it was a Norwegian.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't Cunard.
Oh, Norwegian.
Yes, yeah, they're pretty popular in this area. It's a Norwegian ship.
Yeah.
Okay. How many members comprised the group?
Now, well, at that time, there were 65 at the original concert, which was in '83, I believe it was. Yeah. But soon after that, as Jenny admitted, almost on the night of the concert, we shot up to about 110 within about 2 weeks.
Wow.
That was the uptake. I mean, the first concert created such a buzz in London. It reached the regions of UK like Birmingham and Manchester, so forth. People heard about it because it was spectacular. It really was great.
Let's go back to before we go back to that first cruise. So how many are in the group today?
Today, roughly 45.
45.
We've managed, 45. It shrunk quite a bit as lifestyle has changed, and 18-year-olds. I think we have maybe one or two, even maybe no. Sienna might be the youngest, and she's 21. So the bottom age has risen greatly.
Okay. So now let's go back to that first cruise, first concert, because you have a first performance. You have referenced it a couple of times. The setting of the first performance.
Setting was in a church in West London called Kensington Temple. It was in an evangelical church, but very open to the community. They did a lot of community work, and I knew the minister. He knew me. Knew of my reputation at that time in the Pentecostal community, and we approached him about using the venue. It holds about 1,000 to 1,100 people, I believe, and it was just amazing. We printed a few leaflets. We didn't go, because we had no money. It was literally just an idea that we had about doing this. And so we were welcomed, and we set this date and printed a few leaflets, and the word went around the community. Word of mouth worked very, very well back in the day. The place was packed. In fact, we had to turn people away. They could not get any more people in the church building. We would have a fire. What do you call it? A security and fire issue, health and safety. We performed. People saw for the first time local gospel choir performing music that was classically influenced. We had some spirituals in it, gospel spirituals, Negro spirituals. We had a bit of contemporary gospel. We had Caribbean flavored gospel music. So it was a cocktail of gospel songs and styles that people saw and heard on that night, and the choir coped with it all fantastically.
So even back in '83, you were doing contemporary and Caribbean influenced gospel.
Yes. Back then, we were well ahead of our time. Well ahead of.
Well, you were well ahead of gospel in the U.S. I think, because
I agree with
my recollection of gospel in the '80s, and I'm not an expert, but it was more straight ahead. Seemed like Southern influence, spirituals, and things started to change. I think with the introduction of Kirk Franklin.
Yes. Andre Crouch.
Yeah. And now, when I listen to the gospel station, I might hear some hip hop influence gospel.
Yes. It has changed now. But as you said rightly, back in the day, we were well ahead of our time. We produced a song called Fill My Cup. Now, that was what you would call R&B.
Right.
The style of it. And we received, I can't remember the names of some American producers who came over years later and said, we heard your song, Fill My Cup. And we were inspired by it because we were not doing anything like that in America at the time. We were inspired by it, and we were really shocked because we didn't think that our music reached America, but it obviously did.
Now, from that first performance in 1983, when did you start to perform for Greater UK? I mean, I know that you've performed in some amazing venues and for some amazing audiences and on television. When did you, for lack of a better phrase, hit the big time?
I think our first TV show was Black on Black. And that was a magazine program that a new channel called Channel 4 needed to have diversity on their programming. And so the head of the director, the producer director, I think was a black man called Trevor Phillips.
Okay.
It was well known in the media as a journalist, and they gave him this job. He accepted the job, and he knew me. He knew of me. We knew each other, and he asked me. He reached out to me. Bazil, we'd like to have some spiritual influence in the programming. I think we were coming up to Christmas at the time or something, which we'd like to have a spiritual element and show that side of the black community, because all the reggae and the soul and the other things, carnival, would have been talked about quite enthusiastically. But he said, this is not all the black community does. We are a very spiritual community, and we go to church, and there's music in the church that the rest of the world needs to hear. And so he asked me, I said, yeah, gladly. And by that time, LCGC had already been formed, and we had just begun. And what we did, we assembled a small team of LCGC members, rehearsed the band, and went on to the show called Black on Black. And it just exploded from there because people had no idea there was a gospel group of that quality in London. And because the members came from many different churches, it made it even more attractive. So a lot of interest. And from that, the pop bands and the local media began approaching us for interviews and recording sessions. In fact, one of our very first recording sessions was with Paul McCartney.
Oh, wow.
We sang on his Give My Regards to Broad Street album.
Oh my goodness! Well, that's a big way to start.
We started at the top.
Yeah.
Now, approximately what year was that?
It was within a couple of years.
It's probably 84, 85. It was that quick.
Pretty quickly from your origins in the 80s. Wow. Yeah, I have done a little research, and I've seen that you have collaborated with a number of names that I recognize. I missed the Paul McCartney. That's a big way to start.
I don't think we've been able to number or name all of the collaborations we have done. It's huge.
I know that LCGC has performed with some major artists and at some special events and venues in UK and around the world. So give us some highlights of LCGC's career.
One of my fondest memories is with a wonderful human being, the most amazing velvety voice, Luther Vandross.
Oh man, that's my. Now let me stop you right here and just interject that is by far my favorite artist of all time.
Well, there you go. Touch me. Hey. Oh.
As I high-five Bazil through the computer screen. In fact, just last night I was on what is it called? Threads, and they asked, if you were something like if you were stuck on an island or something, and you could only listen over and over to one song, I picked "A House Is Not a Home" by Luther.
Dance with My Father again. Yeah. I mean, the list just goes on and on. Yeah. Now, if you have you heard about the documentary that's been released
on Luther?
About Luther?
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, that was fantastic.
Well, you will see us in it. You will see London Community Gospel Choir in it.
And we opened if you look at the very beginning of the documentary, it starts with LCGC.
Oh, there you go.
With Luther on stage at the Royal Albert
Live
Hall.
At the Royal Albert Hall.
That's how the documentary starts.
Okay, so I remember the concert live at Royal Albert Hall. In fact, I have that on video because that one of the things Luther didn't do is release very many live albums. I've seen him live many times, and when I found out about that album. So I have the video, but I will rewatch it as soon as we get off. I will rewatch it to find your part.
He actually gives a shout. One of my famous moments, he gives a shout out to see my friend Bazil Meade back in the choir.
Oh wow! Yeah, I gotta see that again.
We did about 4 or 5 songs on that.
Oh yeah, we did. We rehearsed with them for about 2 days.
Yeah, no, was there for a week?
It was 5 days. Oh wow! 2 days. It was an amazing time.
Luther Vandross.
Yeah, I worked with many artists. You asked me to name Diana Ross, Stevie Wonder,
Turner.
Tina Turner. Oh my goodness, Chaka Khan. When he was known as P. Diddy, he came over. We did the MTV Awards with him and his group many years ago. Mariah Carey. These are the Americans. Elton John, Madonna. We're in Madonna's videos. And then you can go on to the pop bands. They're numerous. 1975, which is a very, very current. Annie Lennox. And what's his partner?
Annie Lennox.
Dave Stewart.
My man.
Rod Stewart.
Nick Jonas.
Nick Jonas. Sam Smith. Sam Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. And many of the younger ones. Pink. Justin Timberlake. The list is endless. We need a lot of time.
Now, have you performed in front of any of the royals?
Oh my goodness, many times.
Yeah. Full variety performance.
There's a show that happens every year. It was much more popular back during the 80s, and we performed on a number of those each year. Performed at the Palace. Prince Charles was patron to a project that I started some years ago. And he came to our office in East London and opened this drop-in cafeteria for me. And when he had events at his palace, and he would get in touch through his staff and said, Bazil, we'd like the London Community Gospel Choir and provide entertainment for the heads of the Commonwealth. And so we do arrive at St. James's Palace, and we did many things. I met all the members of the family, from the Queen Mother to the sons and the daughters and so forth. We performed for them many times.
Yeah. I think actually the choir was the last set of people to sing the national anthem to the Queen, because just before she passed away. So
wow.
Yeah,
wow.
quite touching.
I know you talked about some of the acts that you have collaborated with from the U.S. Talk about performances in the U.S. Where have you been?
We haven't. Yeah, it's extraordinary. People ask me, and I said, I just don't know why. People have talked to me about it. Americans have talked to me about it, but nothing. It has never materialized because I suppose I've insisted at all times that whatever is being presented to me is acceptable, and I know my group will be professionally taken care of. And if it doesn't seem like that is what is being offered, then I do not continue the conversation.
So you have not performed in the U.S. yet?
Never.
Wow. You know, I'm a long time entrepreneur, but I don't know anything about concert production. But seems like there's an opportunity there.
Absolutely.
Very open, Paul.
I'm very friendly with BB Winans. Donald Lawrence is another one, lovely man. Both of them, they're friends. We see each other occasionally. We've done stuff together in Europe. Donald and I have opened gospel festivals in Spain and Barcelona. We've attended other things together, and here in London as well. Donald's been over a number of times. How Sweet the Sound, you must know that. We went together to do the very first How Sweet the Sound in London in October last year. And I helped BB celebrate his 60th birthday in London a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago.
Wow, I cannot believe. I mean, there's so many. It seems like there'd be some natural opportunities. I was just on a cruise. I guess it's been about 3 weeks now. It's called the Soul Train Cruise.
Okay.
And I'm sure you're familiar with the show, the Soul Train.
Soul Train, yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah.
From back in the day. In fact, the host of the cruise was Tony Cornelius, who was Don Cornelius's. Don Cornelius was the original host of the Soul Train TV show. Tony is his son, and they had gospel. I mean, it was mainly, of course, the music that was featured on Soul Train, like old school R&B and funk. But they also had a gospel presentation. I've also been on a couple of cruises. There's an organization here called Festival at Sea, and they do it's not really a music cruise so much as it is an African American cultural cruise, but they always feature musical, some musical performances, and they always have, gospel. They have a gospel breakfast and a gospel show, so I mean, those are cruises, but I just can think of so many events or venues that you all would seem to be a natural for. But we can talk about that offline. So where have you performed worldwide outside of the UK?
Oh my goodness. Well, someone was talking to me just a while ago today, in fact, about Russia. They're talking about the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. And I said, well, LCGC has been to Moscow. We performed in St. Petersburg, but there's no chance of that happening anytime soon. But we've done that, and we've gone to China.
Now let me jump. Well, let me jump in. Russia and China. The question applies to both. How did the audience? They were very receptive to you. I mean, were you sort of kind of a curiosity object, or? I mean, that probably came out wrong. but is there a strong influence of gospel in those two countries?
Yes, it's amazing the places you would find gospel choirs now.
But Bazil, you need to mention the very first time we went into, before the wall came down and all the situation that we face, because we're talking about
Poland.
Yeah, you need to.
Oh my goodness! How much time do you have, Paul?
Wow! Have you all performed in Africa?
Yes, we've done South
Zambia,
Africa,
Zimbabwe,
there we go.
South Africa,
Morocco.
Yeah,
Morocco a number of times. It's a repeat visits to Morocco. In fact, we're booked to go Morocco in May this year. Again, we're back out there. We've been to the Solomon Islands in the Pacific Ocean. And then you've got what were the Soviet Union, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and then you've got the Spanish islands, Spain, mainland, Italy, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Luxembourg.
Well, it's easier to ask them where they haven't been.
Belgium.
Yeah. It sounds to me everywhere but the U.S.
Yes. Everywhere.
Well, I hope the right people are listening. We've got a pretty good audience. So.
Singapore is another part of Asia we have been to a number of times. The audience it's incredible, and Morocco is a very interesting place because it's a Muslim country. Now, on one of our visits, the Queen of Morocco attended our show. We were not aware. Mm-hmm. But I remember I have a tendency to go down into the audience with a microphone and get members of the audience singing. And I remember seeing some guys in suits walking with a lady in front of them. And she sat down, and I was going in her direction with the mic. And for some reason, I just felt maybe she looked a little bit too... probably regal, and I decided to give her a wide berth and went to somebody else. And afterwards, the promoter said to me, "I watched you go into the audience. You know that lady that you was going to, but you changed your mind? Guess who that was? That was the Queen." I nearly fell on the floor. I said, with her around her. I said, "Oh my God, what would she have done? What would they have done? How they approach?"
Yeah, I guess if you got too close, they would have stood up.
They would have stood up. They were bigger than me.
Let's talk about cruising. So I already asked Bazil about your first cruise. Have you cruised since then?
I haven't.
No, Bazil hasn't.
I haven't been in a boat.
Okay.
Bazil is so busy.
Saying that, when we used to, in the early days, when the choir used to go to Norway, stuff like that, we used to go by...
the ferry. Finland.
So that was the closest thing that we sort of did.
It's not the same as a cruise, of course.
No, but yeah. So I had 60th. I did a cruise. That was my very first cruise.
World traveler, Jennifer Litton.
The choir has...
So that cruise that you did with Kaylin, that wasn't that's not your only cruise?
Yeah, that was my first.
That was our first. So we're kind of baby.
Oh, that was your first and only cruise?
Yeah. And it was one.
Yeah.
All right, put your hands together. Everybody, come on, stand on your feet. Here we go.
about the Caribbean Gospel Choir Workshop Cruise. Talk about it in general, and then say, what can cruisers expect from the cruise besides the amenities of this stunning new ship?
Okay, I'll let Bazil explain to you the workshop because he's workshop guru. So I'll let him explain the gospel side of it.
Okay.
Workshops are for me, an exciting occasion for interacting with a public, strangers coming together. Maybe some singers, and there will be a number of people who are just curious, as you mentioned before, and just wanting to have the experience. And I believe on a cruise there'll be many like that. I'd like to share a bit of the history of gospel music, because I think it's important to talk about the journey of the music, where it came from, the pain, the suffering, the slavery. So I do a very quick introduction to that, so people have an understanding of about the art form they're engaging with, and then I'll demonstrate something that give them an idea, show them the difference between singing gospel and singing other forms of music, other religious music or Christian type music. And then I'll introduce a gospel song, try to keep it simple, because I always want people to go away remembering the material that they've been spending an hour or so learning. And so use simple songs that they could learn very quickly, and that they can continue singing whatever they're doing. It needs to be an experience that is lasting, not just for the couple of hours they're engaging with the workshop. So that is my approach, and I find it works best for the audiences that normally come to workshops.
So there's going to be, is it a couple of workshops or one? I mean,
Yeah. What it is, it's going to be 2 gospel workshops. If people book via ourselves or via Go Cruise and Travel, they will be part of the choir, because on Friday there'll be a concert that LCGC will do part, and part of it will be the workshop choir, as we'll call it.
okay.
There's 2 other workshops. One's going to be a reggae workshop, and one's going to be a pop workshop. But the gospel workshop, we're trying to see if we can get a choir together. So I think Bazil doesn't 100% know this yet, but we're going to try and get a choir together from the ship, and they will actually perform at the concert or in the concert.
Okay. Now, let me, just to clarify, so the pop workshop and the reggae workshop, that's part of your workshops?
Yes. Yeah, we will also be bringing workshop leaders onto those 2 workshops. So there'll be 2. Those will be 2 workshops while the ship's docked, but we're pushing for the actual workshop to be done late in the afternoon, so people can go out onto the islands and then come back and take part in the workshops.
Now, just so I can be clear, and the audience, the listeners can be clear, so this is not a full ship charter. In other words, you don't have the whole ship. So for people who purchase tickets from...
We'll be right back. The purpose of this podcast really is to highlight living here in Spain and to cover what we decided is really what we're passionate about: food, fashion, and fun places.
Absolutely.
That either we have visited or are going to visit.
We are going to be going to Madrid very soon. We're going to be exploring the brand Loewe. We'll be exploring a little more about the Costa Blanca. Won't reveal exactly where in the Costa Blanca just yet.
I get excited about those things, so I thought, wow, I really want to share it with other people.
Go Cruise and Travel. They are the travel agent. Yeah.
Go Cruise and Travel. So people who purchase tickets through Go Cruise and Travel are eligible to attend the workshops and the performance.
Yeah, they will. The money that they'll be paying will cover the gospel workshops, the 2 gospel workshops. And they will take part as well, if they wish, which I should think most people will, in the actual concert as part of the choir.
I am a travel agent in the U.S. So if I understand you correctly, someone who doesn't want to deal with the organization that you mentioned. I keep forgetting that name. Say it again.
Go Cruise and Travel.
Go Cruise and Travel. So let's say a listener contacts me and says, "Hey, I want to book that cruise."
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I will say to them, "Well, I'm not Go Cruise and Travel, so I can book you on that gorgeous new ship, but that doesn't give you the opportunity to attend the gospel, the LCGC portions of that cruise. However, you can, once you get on board, correct me if I'm wrong, you can, once you get on board, pay, a supplement to participate. Is that correct?"
That's correct. Yeah. However, if they book via Go Cruise and Travel, they will automatically be part of the choir. We want to keep the choir to a certain amount because we can't afford to have 1,000 people on the choir. So we would rather them book through Go Cruise and Travel, so we can actually then control the size of the choir.
But what if they have no interest in participating in the choir? They just have interest in the learning opportunities, the fellowship, and watching the choir perform.
Okay, so the choir is going to perform as the ship goes out from Miami in the beginning. So therefore, they will see the choir perform. That will be for everyone. And the concert at the end, once we don't get oversubscribed, it will be for everybody at the end. So everyone can come into the theatre and watch the concert at the end.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bazil Meade here from the London Community Gospel Choir. We've recorded a couple of songs that we would like to present to the royal family, the Queen, and all those who are mourning the loss of the Duke of Edinburgh. And we hope that it will be taken in the spirit that we're presenting it. It's a day of sadness, but these songs, I believe, will give us hope. Enjoy.
Okay, because the reason I want to be especially clear, so I'm going to run the video that you sent me about Go Cruise and Travel, which is very nicely done. But I suspect I am going to get some questions about, I shouldn't say I suspect, I might get some questions about, hey, can we book through you?
Okay.
I want to be prepared to answer that question. And we could talk offline and you can maybe help me with how I answer that question. Because, I want you all to get attendance. I want you all to get numbers. And I also want to be clear with the listeners and the people who are on my, the podcast has a Facebook group. And that's where I'm going to run your commercial. And I won't even say anything about me as a travel agent. I'll just run it. But then I'm sure that some people are going to wonder, can they just deal with I shouldn't say I'm sure. Possibly some people are going to wonder, can they deal with me versus dealing with an agency in Europe, in UK?
They can book with you. There's not a problem. Maybe if we talk offline, we can sort something out, but they can book.
We'll talk offline. I want to be ready for those questions.
Okay.
In fact, my next question, so as we've talked about, for various reasons, the cruise bookings are handled via a UK travel advisor. So let listeners outside of UK, and I told you UK is our second largest audience, but by far our largest audience is in US. So let listeners outside of UK know how they can book the Caribbean Gospel Choir, the Caribbean Gospel Choir Workshop Cruise through this organization.
Okay, so the video that you'll run, it's got a QR code at the end. If they click on the QR code, it will send them to inquiry form, and it will have all the information on the inquiry form. So if they just fill in the inquiry form, they will either email back to them or they give them a call, either way, and they'll take it from there. So they'll deal with all the booking.
Okay. Let's talk about the future. Outside of the cruise, which sounds pretty exciting, and I've read, some great things about that ship. I'm kind of trying to figure out how we can go. And my wife is not into cruising nearly as much as I am, so I got a feeling when I say, hey, there's a cruise coming up I want to talk to you about. I know her reaction because we have a fair amount of travel already lined up for 25, but I got a feeling there's going to be a conversation we're going to have. And by the way, just so the audience knows, the listeners know, say again, when is the cruise?
It's leaving Miami on the 30th of August. So if you're coming in to Miami from the UK or Europe, you will have to fly in on the 29th. The travel agent can arrange that. If you're flying in from Europe into Miami, they can arrange a night in Miami as well as the flights for you. And the transfer. And it's returning back. My ex-boss Bazil is prompting me. And it's returning back on the 6th of September, leaving on the Saturday and arriving back into London on the 7th. So the ship, if you're coming off the ship, it will be on the 5th of September back into Miami.
Okay. As I said, I want to talk about the future. Beyond that cruise, what upcoming tours and events does LCGC have lined up for 25?
We're going to be letting some trade secrets out here. We always have ongoing.
Let me say it this way. What events are coming up that you can talk about?
We're talking to people in European countries like Hungary, Morocco, parts of Africa, and other countries around Europe, Spain and Italy. So there are always a number of conversations going on. Obviously, we cannot say definitely until the contracts are signed. We will also be back at Glastonbury. We've returned to Glastonbury in our own right. We've played it many years ago, but we're back there for the second year this year. So we'll be there in our own venue.
Are you aware of, maybe not 25, but whenever, are you aware of any collaborations with big name artists that you kind of like those you've mentioned?
They tend to come at us at last minute.
Okay.
They really relate because they don't want to let too much out of the bag too early. So they tend to leave their plans quite late. Yes, and so I was expecting things to come through the phone. The ladies have just reminded me, we have an annual show at the Royal Albert Hall, a Christmas special that we're in our 6th year. It's LCGC at Christmas at the Royal Albert Hall. This year, I believe it will be maybe on the 19th of December. It sells out every year, 5,000.
Now, is that televised in the UK?
No, it's not televised. It's live, and it happens live. We've never recorded it. We'd have to get a sponsorship, an investor on board in order to afford what it would cost to
televise. Okay. How can my listeners follow LCGC on social media and the internet?
We have a YouTube page. So if you go on and look at that, you will find LCGC, and then we're on Instagram Jenny is trying. I can never remember the. It's the official LCGC on Instagram, and
we've got Facebook,
and there's Facebook as well.
It's TikTok.
The website's a good place to go to as well, which is lcgc.org.uk. That's a good place to go. That gives you a lot of information.
Okay. So lcg.org.uk, the website,
and then it will have the social handles on it as well.
Last question, kind of a general question. So, and I'd like to hear from all of you. What does the future hold for LCGC?
One of you speak. I will bring up the end. Well, no, I should speak actually. I recently, the past 2 years, introduced my son and daughter as the people to carry on the legacy for the London Community Gospel Choir. And so that is in place. His name is Leon Meade and Vanetta Lynch. Leon is creative director. Vanetta is the office manager and looks after all the logistical things. And I am there as hopefully the wise one, introducing them to all my contacts and helping out when they need to refer to me, because I've been there a long time, and there are probably things that I've done and lessons I've learned which they have yet to learn. I need to be there to help them, hopefully to avoid some of that. So that's a biggie for me. But it's also a major positive in my life, because it's something I've seen as my purpose, making sure this journey continues when I'm no longer able to do it, because it has been of amazing benefit to the UK community, my own church, Black church community, the international community, especially in Europe. And long may it last. So that's a major for the future. We hope to reach out much further into the world and get the choir traveling even further afield. The choir comprises of people from members from Poland, from Lithuania, from Italy, from the Caribbean, from a number of countries. It really represents London. It's the London community, and we're very happy about that. We hope to maintain that and get it in a place where we can be more influential on better behavior, people living together in peace and harmony. And we're also working with children with disability. With Jenny is leading part of the organization's charity, and we plan to do a concert each year that will help us to focus on that part of the choir's activities, giving back to the community. Starting a children's choir as well. We've done that. Jenny's responsible for that also, and inputting into schools and children, so through gospel they can learn about faith and establish a relationship with God. So our agenda, it will never run out of things.
Well, I certainly hope that somewhere in that long-term strategy is to break into the U.S. market, so I can come and see you guys at some point. It has been wonderful to chat with you. Thank you so much for coming on the Joy of Cruising podcast. All the best with the upcoming Caribbean Gospel Choir Workshop Cruise. I will do everything that I can to facilitate the success of that event. And thank you for coming. You know what? As I was researching you all, Bazil, I said to myself, I'm an author, so I'm always thinking this way. I said to myself, Bazil has a book in him somewhere, and then I found out there is a book. Say something about that.
There is.
There is. We must get it.
We'll get a copy to you.
Yeah.
Or it might be quicker if you want to go on Amazon and order it. Is that the quicker? In terms of speed, or we can get it to you.
No, you'll get a book
We'll get a book sent.
So name the book, and you said it's available on Amazon. So in case any of my listeners are interested.
So it's called Bazil Meade, Bazil with a Z, Bazil, Meade, Meade, a boy, a journey, a dream.
Very good. Very good.
It's on Amazon. It's a very good read.
Very good. Well, as I like to conclude a session, we will see you on the ocean.
All right. Thank you
so much, Paul.
Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you again.
Gospel Choir Workshop Cruise. This summer, exclusively aboard the newest luxury cruise ship, the MSC World America. Your Caribbean cruise begins on August the 30th when you set sail from Miami. Scan the QR code and book now with Go Cruise and Travel to experience a truly unique Caribbean experience with the London Community Gospel Choir on the MSC World America. This summer from August the 30th.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted, each $16.99 plus shipping, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again for $18.99 can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. The Joy of Cruising books are also available at Amazon. Order the ebook at Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Stay in touch by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or following the Joy of Cruising Podcast on Instagram. We're constantly adding new shows. Please leave a review and tell a friend about us. We hope you enjoyed this brief escape to the ocean. See you next week.